X2Cat and welcome back to the second channel video. Today I'm here near Aachen, Germany at the tri-point border where Germany meets Belgium over there and the Netherlands over there. So you can skip from Germany to Belgium to the Netherlands. And the cool thing about this place is there's lots of people that come here just to have their picture taken. Like, I'm not the only one who cares about borders because apparently there's just a steady stream of people who come in to see this. But no, that's not the point of today's video. Today's video is about that title that you're probably up in arms about, like, oh, it's like what do you mean Germany doesn't defend its borders? And what I mean by that is the border between Germany and every one of the 9 other countries that are around it is essentially a do whatever you want kind of thing. There is no checkpoints you might imagine between countries, as you probably experience them outside the European Union. Instead, if you want to go from one country to another, in fact, let me show you right now. So here's me in Germany. I'm in Aachen, for a little bit, and now, in just a few seconds, I'm a little, like a few seconds of walking, I'm like, I'd like to go to the Netherlands today. It's, would like to do Dutch things or whatever. And oh, now I'm in Vals, I believe it is, in the Netherlands. I haven't checked the pronunciation of that. But yeah, that's how easy you can go across border. That's how it is for Germany and every one of the 9 other countries that borders. Left to right, by the way, that's Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Switzerland, Austria, Czech Republic, Poland, and Denmark. 9 countries, one of the most in the world, and every single one of those borders is like this, where, and other thing over there. And yeah, you might be curious as to how this is the case, and why does Germany not care about them? And that's got a really simple answer, 2 words, Schengen area, but it has a way more complex kind of, discussion about that. I've wanted to have for a while now, so what better time to do it than that, the tri-point border you can see over there. So, good camera movement there. So, basically, the Schengen area is a really simple kind of concept. It's been one of the long-term European goals ever since the European community first was started. Let's abolish internal border controls. Let's make it easier to move capital, goods, anything like that from country to country. One of the core, principles of the EU. It came into proper effect just in the last 25 years or so, and it means that between any EU country, with 2 exceptions, the UK and Ireland, and with 4 opposite of exceptions, where Switzerland, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, they're not EU members, but they're part of the Schengen area, so it's like a weird merger of EU and non-EU, but not some EU countries. You can go from any country to any other one without going through any internal border. And all you need is a internal ID license if you're internal national identity of some form if you are from an EU citizen country, and if you're not, then all you need is a visa. The visa you apply for it in the first country you come to, and that allows you to go to any Schengen country. You don't just get a France visa. There is a Schengen visa that you apply for in France or you apply for in Switzerland, and it allows you access to anywhere in the entirety of the Schengen zone. So yeah, again, really cool concept, right? Like, oh, Europe basically has one kind of border outside the edges there. There's like the external border, all the internal ones are kind of abolished. Like, a good example would be states in America. It's like they're very separate, they have their own, kind of identity and everything like that. But if you want to move from one thing to another, there's no hassle of a border checkpoint that says, no, so you can't go to the Netherlands right now, or you can't go from Minnesota to whatever's near Minnesota. You can't just do that, no one will ever stop you. And it's the same with any EU country. So that is the simple answer of oh yeah, Germany doesn't defend its borders because it doesn't need to, they're all internal ones. But the big debate you can have around that is one that I find, again, it's especially blown out proportion by people from outside the European Union, which is to do with those external borders. So again, Germany has 9 borders, all of them are internal borders to other EU countries, but not all countries are like that, especially when it comes to Greece. Greece has although the policy is the same to get into all of these countries, there's lots of countries around them where they need to enforce, they need to enforce it properly, but it's not necessarily done at the same level. Again, officially, every Schengen country has the exact same, border requirements to get in. You need the Schengen visa, etc. But unofficially, there's lots of ways to get into a country without officially ever going over a border. So, for instance, between the UK and France, you take the train if you're going officially, or you take a plane. But if you swam somehow, that's unofficially going between countries. Same is true, particularly in the Mediterranean. Sea. That is where the big migrant crisis comes from, because you can get into the EU unofficially, and once you're in any one country, there's no controls between that country and the next. So yeah, that's where the big kind of crisis comes from, and this is, again, especially blown out proportion by people who want to say, that is the big, this whole idea of European integration is the reason behind X and X, terror reason or whatever. But the truth about that, if you want to know, if you ever look up any actual information on this, it's one of those oh yeah, the news is being the news again things, because terror attacks in general, the deaths, the number of them, etc., is going down year by year by year. Again, check a graph somewhere, check anything, and it will show you that, yeah, every single year it goes down, but that makes it a more notable event. That makes it more devastating when you hear about something in Berlin or something in Paris, you think that's such a terrible thing, and then people like to use that as a way to get to this next thing. I'm not saying that means there's no problems. The big problem, there is in fact a giant problem of every country secures its ability, official, unofficial borders in a different way. This is something that was never really properly conceived of, and although it is a thing, the big argument is like, okay, if you're going to have this zone, which they really wanted to create, so it was like the big dream, they tried to make it. If you're going to have this zone that you're really trying to create, then you should at the same time create that external border that is the same level of defense. You should make it a common policy, but that hasn't been properly done, because although it exists in some form, it did come about 10 years after. Now the kind of increasing of that is something that people don't necessarily want to do quite so much. So again, the big thing is, it's called Frontex, if you don't know. It's a border agency which essentially monitors the external borders, but right now it has just 400 employees, and although it can associate with each member state, it doesn't have its own separate kind of border force. It just, it works with each single one of them, and it means that big deals have to be done just to, secure this external border, and it means there's a kind of big thing. So yeah, why doesn't Germany defend its borders? It doesn't need to. It can't legally. It joined the Schengen zone, and they're all Schengen countries. Why therefore it's why you might say that's not kind of the case. There isn't really these big issues that everyone's thinking of. They're, again, going down each year, but you might say, but they're still happening, Toycat, and it's happening because of this and that. What is the solution to that? Where's that whole thing going? And I think the simple answer is, again, if you're going to have, the big, border-free thing where you can take goods, you take anything like that, you should also have B, the externally secured thing, but that is something that's being worked towards. But the big roadblock in the way is, again, the EU is in crisis, and kind of has been for the past 10 years or stuff, and working towards the giant federal, everyone works together and make this whole thing happen. That is something that is surprisingly hard to get that done in this time, and that is kind of the big answer of like, they don't do it because of that. And one more thing before I end today's video, because you might say, no, all of that's wrong, Toycat. There actually is checkpoints. Officially, depending on your source, it's hard to find anything that says it's definitely not or is. You might say, well, right now actually, because any EU country can temporarily, for very national security reasons, impose border checks on every other country nearby it, and Germany, again, sometimes does, sometimes doesn't, but they're very temporary, and they're not really a thing. So just before you're like, oh, I'm going to type that in the comments that actually you're wrong, Toycat, look up the source. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but it doesn't affect the whole overall point of, Schengen area needs the secondary thing. Secondary thing hasn't been done, and if you're not from the EU, it's one of those things where if I said, oh yeah, America needs to get rid of its guns because that, it's the same level of ignorant where like, well, I mean, there's lots of them already, and it's the same level of ignorance to say, oh yeah, well, not having borders is a silly thing. This right here, this is not the reason behind what you're thinking, and that's what I wanted to say with today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, because second channel, don't care. Wait, no, it's not.